Welcome to the lost city of Old Goa. Today we are exploring historic monuments from the 15th and 16th century and discovering why hundreds of thousands of Goans abandoned this place and fled to Panjim. Plus, we have exclusive access to a 400-year-old mansion belonging to one of the most influential families of Goa. We'll explore its hidden treasures and have a 5-course meal with a member of the family in a royal banquet hall. So let's get started. Old Goa, the Rome of the East, was the capital of Goa during the early Portuguese rule. But repeated epidemics of cholera, malaria, and the plague led to the mass abandonment of this once bustling city, and by 1843, Panjim became the new capital of Goa. Today though, we are left with several historic monuments and ruins like the 400-year-old ruins of the Church of St. Augustine. There's not much left after the church vault collapsed in the 19th century, but it's still worth a visit if only to learn about the many secrets it holds. For instance, did you know that the Archaeological Society of India, working with the Georgian officials, discovered the mortal remains of Queen Ketevan amongst the ruins of this church in 2004? Queen Ketevan was a Georgian queen who was brutally martyred by the Shah of Iran after she refused to give up her religion in order to do so by the Shah after he conquered the kingdom. There's more information on how the remains of a Georgian queen ended up in Goa in the comments below. There are also many well-preserved churches from the Portuguese time in Old Goa, but the first church that was built by the Portuguese in Goa was the Church of Our Lady of the Rosary that's on the banks of the river Mandovi. The church was built to fulfill a vow taken by the Portuguese general Alfonso de Albuquerque after his army overthrew the Deccan Sultanate. Built in the mid-16th century, this oldest surviving church in Goa is characterized by high altitude windows and round towers that lend it the impression of a fortress. A visit to this church is well worth it because this building is very different from most other churches in the area. For instance, this church is among few other in the state to be built in a Manueline architectural style. The interiors are just as simple as the exteriors, with a few religious statues set against whitewashed walls and some ribbed vaults. But if you look closer, it's quite likely that you'll uncover some other hidden gems.
Kavi art, which is a very traditional and old Goan art form, was originally present on the walls of all churches in Goa, like you can see over here. So what happened is during the Portuguese time, they decided that they didn't want any indigenous art forms left anymore. So they plastered all the churches and kept it white. But this church, weirdly the plaster came off and you can still see this ancient Kavi art that was created under this white plaster. I love this Kavi art. You can feel every part of it. It's absolutely beautiful.
Perhaps the best way to experience Goa as it was half a millennium ago is to visit one of the few houses that still exist from that time. This mansion in Lutholi in South Goa belongs to the Figueiredo family. It's older than the Taj Mahal, and we have exclusive access to it thanks to Soul Traveling. The mansion is filled with treasures from the Portuguese time. Beautiful crystal chandeliers, colorful ceramics, a camphor chest, and this cabinet, which is the largest one of its kind. You'd have to visit the Victoria and Albert Museum for a similar one, but it's much smaller. But we came here especially for an authentic Portuguese Goan meal, and we had this in this massive dining hall with our lovely host Pedro.
So we are currently here in a 430-year-old Goan Portuguese house, and we are going to be having a meal with our host Pedro Figueiredo. I hope I got that right. So I'm super excited, and he's going to take us through a couple of courses, and we are going to have some nice Goan food.
We were first served a tomato and egg soup, and this was followed by some beef samosas.
The second dish we're having is a beef samosa. So I think this is perfect because it's a mix of the Portuguese and the Indian thing, the samosa but with beef in it, and it's really small, which is very different from the regular samosas which we have in other places.
The main course was a lovely grilled prawns and rice, followed by sannas and pork vindaloo.
So now we have a pork vindaloo and a sanna, and Pedro's going to tell us more about this.
So basically the vindalho comes from a Portuguese dish called carne em vinha de alhos, which is basically meat in a garlic vine. It was a very traditional Portuguese dish, which then, after coming to Goa and mixing with the spices, it became a true traditional Goan dish.
Okay, I do not know this ice
Okay,
cream.
so I'll explain. So the alebelin is this one. Alebelin, which basically is crepe filled with tender coconut.
Okay.
This, which is a very traditional Goan dessert. This is an orange roll, which is basically done with eggs in orange, and it's basically a sheet done, which is then rolled over, and so it becomes with this shape, and then sprinkled with sugar and vanilla ice cream. So Portuguese, Goan, and world dessert vanilla.
Wait, I'll taste the olive oil first. From the outside, it kind of looks like a dosa. Like a dosa, I'm going Yeah. That's coconut.
The tender coconut.
Tender coconut.
Crepe filled with tender coconut.
Yeah. So you can only feel the coconut with the texture, and that thing has the coconut taste. Otherwise, it's quite. What is the taste for it? I don't know what to say.
Pastry.
And this you said is the orange.
This is the orange roll.
Orange roll, and it's made of oranges
And eggs, basically. It's a mix of eggs and oranges.
Oh, it has a really good orange smell. Wow. I love this. It's like the orange cream biscuit with little bit of egg. Like I can feel the cream. And finally is the vanilla ice cream.
So that's about it for the video. We just wanted to show you a little bit of Goa as it would have been 500 years back. If you want to experience something like this, check out Soul Traveling. There's a coupon code for a discount in our description. They've got several offbeat tours that will help you experience Goa like never before. But until our next video, goodbye and safe travels.